And the masters of the universe.
Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said,
By the power of Grayskull,
my focus for today is actually going to be mostly on triceps, and I don't mean that way because we're going to be doing lots of different exercises on triceps with different volumes and weights, etc. We're probably going to keep it to 1 or 2 exercises because we're going to pre-exhaust it with some shoulders. Okay, we're going to be working a little bit of front delts and I'm going to be working a little bit of side delts. So this is definitely a shoulder workout, but the way I want to hit the shoulders is different to normal. Normally, I slap on the weight and I just lift whatever weight is on there for as many reps as possible, right? You can't go wrong with that as a basic structure, right? Put on a good weight and lift it as many times as you can before you fail. If in doubt, stick to that, right? But today what I want to do is I want to work the lockout, as I say, more. I want to work the triceps. I want to pre-exhaust them. And so we're going to open up with seated front overhead press. We're going to set up on the cage so that we can put our weights on, but we're also going to add bands to the bar. Now bands create a resistance in the bar just like weights, but their resistance is variable on how much they're stretched. When they only stretch a little bit, they might only add 5 or maybe 10 kilos worth of resistance, but when they're stretched a lot, the ones I'm using today will add 30 kilos to the bar. And there'll be roughly a 30 kilogram difference, or roughly 65 to 70 pound difference from the bottom to the top of the lift. This means I'm going to have to drive the weight through, because as bands increase, the thing is, as you go up, you gain 0 momentum. Normally when you lift the bar, the hardest part of the lift is at the bottom, getting that bar starting to move. But once it moves, it gains a bit of momentum and you tend to move faster then. With bands, that doesn't happen. The momentum is totally taken out of the bar. I call it a dynamic weight because it evolves with the lift, it changes with the lift. And so you have to keep driving all the way through to the top to be able to keep the bar moving. If you don't, it's going to come crashing back down on you. So it's a fantastic way to make the muscles work exponentially harder throughout the entire range of motion. It's fantastic for creating drive and compound lifts like bench press, so you've got that big powerful boom. It's also great for muscularity development as well as strength, because the muscle is working hard all the way through. You're involving it more, and a more involved muscle becomes a strong muscle.
Then we moved on to upright rows, and I picked this particular movement because it's in essence like a mirror image to overhead press. On overhead press, the primary active muscle group used to lift the bar is your front delts, and they're just supported by your side delts, whereas on upright rows, the primary muscle group, doing all the work are your side delts, but they're just, again, aided a little bit by the front delts. So what this allows me to do, in essence, is it allows me to squeeze out that last little bit out of my front delts, that last little bit that hasn't been completely demolished by the overhead press, just making sure I maximize the development on that, but at the same time I get to work my side delts, which have been warmed up by the overhead press that I've just done. So I always find this flows so nicely after an overhead press, and I highly recommend it. And it, as I say, it helps maximize the growth and strength development of both muscle groups. As far as movements go as well, it's actually a very healthy exercise. This helps maintain a lot of mobility in the shoulder joint without really risking like a rotator cuff tear injury that you would normally get with a highly mobile movement. Now, although upright rows are a fantastic strength developer within the side delt, I always like to do, in any workout where I'm working the side delts, side lateral raises, as this is a fantastic exercise regards refining the heads of the side delts. It's a highly isolated movement. This involves no front delt, no rear delt. It's pure side delt. So you can focus on that muscle group significantly. And for a lot of guys, this is a muscle group you do want to focus on, right? Because the bigger your side lat, the wider you're going to look. It literally adds width to your shoulders. So if you are a bodybuilder, this is definitely going to be a staple exercise. And if you're not, let's say you're a strength competitor like me, we all like to look good anyway, but this is, the side delts are such an important muscle group, because even though they're not often used in things like bench press and that as an actual active muscle group as such, they are a stabilizer. They stabilize the shoulder so much, and so they help prevent shoulder injury, but also, as well as that, they allow us to put our power where we need it down the plane of movement. So if you've got weak side delts, they're always going to be a weak spot in a lot of your big compound lifts, so it's important to develop them. Now this next exercise also works side delts, and it isolates it quite well indeed also. So you can see I'm really putting a lot of focus on side delts today, mostly because a lot of these movements don't really drain my triceps too much. So although the triceps are being hit on the first movement, I've kind of given them a little break here, because my plan is to go on to some pretty heavy tricep work soon. So this is just giving them a little break while still working the shoulder joint as a whole. But what I'm doing here in this range of motion that you see here, where I'm pausing it on the level of the shoulder, and then doing these raises above the middle position. This is something called Coulson press, and it's actually a strongman movement. This helps you develop your strength for the crucifix, something that I learned by watching Sven Carlson, hence why I call them Coulson presses. And now we get to the big boys. This is one of my favorite tricep exercises. I normally do something called French press, which is a variation of this, but this is pure skull press, where you take the bar to the bridge of the nose. Normally I do it upright and do it to the back of the head. It's a greater range of motion, but it can be a little awkward, and it can be a little bit dangerous if you get stuck in that position without a spot, without any way of just unloading the bar from yourself. For me, I'm going to bust my equipment, I'm going to bust my floor. So today I just wanted to do something that was safe and easy to set up, so I did skull press. This did put a bit of pain in my elbows. I am shifting quite a bit of weight here, and for a couple of days after this workout, my elbows were hurting. So if you do have old aching joints like myself, it isn't one of the better exercises. Instead, I would recommend what I'm doing here. So what I'm going to do here is tricep push downs and tricep pull downs as a superset. Tricep push downs, normally you would do these on a cable machine, so I don't have, so I'm improvising here using bands. But I actually really like it, and it actually makes it almost like a Nautilus machine. Those of you who are from the 80s like myself will remember them. They were fantastic pieces of kit where they had a dynamic range of resistance in a similar way that bands do, and so they really actively work the muscles like I was describing and explaining on front delts. But the whole principle applies again. You can use bands like myself if you don't have a cable machine. If you don't have the space for it or the money for it, like myself, then bands are a good substitute. All you need really is a chin bar that you can put in your door frame, or a chin bar like I've got here on a power cage, and strap the bar over the band over the top and use that as a cable. It's a fantastic way to improvise. Now on these I really went for it. I just kept increasing the weight and kept the reps high. Tricep push downs and pull downs are one of those movements that you have to keep the volume high. If you go too heavy on these, you're just going to bust your elbows like I was kind of doing on the skull press. It's not good for the joints, and also, as well as that, it just lifts you up. I mean, to be honest, you're going to be lifted off the floor before your joints start breaking on this. So you can imagine the resistance is dragging you up. Now I'm a pretty heavy lad, so luckily I can keep myself anchored down. But if you're a little bit lighter than myself and your triceps are proportionally quite strong, you're not going to be able to hold yourself down. So lighter weights, good resistance still, but lighter weights, but of a higher volume, and you can really chase a phenomenal pump on this. The pain that you get in your triceps is amazing. And after this workout, I went to get up out the sofa after having a little sit down, and when you push down on the arms of the sofa, my arms cramped. my arms cramped, and I've done this so many times. I've been stuck in the bath a few times by doing this, where your triceps cramp, and this is the movement that causes that. Anyway guys, thank you for watching, but for now that is the end of the workout, so I wish you the best of luck, ta-ta, and bye-bye for me.